Do you like to burn stuff? Do you feel like everything should be on fire? Well, welcome to Fire Mage. My name is Cypress, and we've been burning stuff for 2 videos now, 3 videos actually. Let's burn some more, you know what I'm saying? Today we're gonna cover the honor talents for the Fire Mage. Let's get right into it. Tier 1 Gladiator's Medallion is gonna be your go-to talent because, and I'm gonna swap back to the basic and honor talents to show you some things. Shimmer is gonna make your blink not break stun anymore, so you cannot get out of stun using blink. So you're gonna need some kind of a way out of a stun, and that's gonna be your honor medallion. Or if you're human, you can use your racial passive, not passive but racial skill, every man for himself. Let's go to the second talent of tier 1. It's going to be adaptation. Not bad. All loss control effects within a duration of 5 seconds or more will be activated. Basically gives you a passive trinket. It's all good, but this could activate potentially on a 2-second fear, for example. Like the lock fears you, it doesn't activate. Fears you again, it doesn't activate. Fears you 3rd time, it activates, and you just activated your trinket on a 2-second fear. So I don't know how good that's gonna be. Relentless is not too bad, for example, but I believe this talent could be used in some cases. When? Okay, so for example, if you have a lock that spams fear all the time, this is going to be a viable talent. You might want to take Relentless. It's going to make your crowd control effect reduced by 25%. And if you are undead, which that gives you Will of the Forsaken skill is your ratio. It removes any charm, fear, and sleep effect from yourself. Or if you are human, you have the stun, so you're safe against like a stun, and then you reduce that spammable CC by a lot. So that's one of the cases that it could be useful. I'm not saying use it. I'm saying it could be useful against a lock, for example, that spams a lot of CC, or another mage that also spams a lot of sheep. Besides those two, I don't know any other class that has super spammable CC besides like the fear and the sheep. And since they changed a lot of things in Legion, a lot of classes lost a lot of their crowd control abilities in Legion. So Relentless, useful in some cases, maybe, but then again you can just rely on your Gladiator's Medallion just for everything and never spec out of it. Let's go to the second tier. Train of Thought. Damage increased by 15%. Being attacked will cancel this effect for 8 seconds. So this is a passive, you have it all the time. But if you're getting attacked, it cancels the effects for 8 seconds. Okay, so I have no idea why Blizzard put this talent into the game at all. I don't remember any time that I haven't been attacked, especially in arena, as a mage. Like, you're the target to go in arena. Everybody's just kill the mage all the time. So I don't know how this is any viable at all. Let's go to Mind Quickness, which is your second talent of tier 2. Increase your haste by 6%, making your Fireball, Scorch, and for example Sheep, which is the most important one, faster. Pretty good. not too bad. I prefer if they gave me mastery or crit, but yeah, it's okay. Now the third talent of tier 2 is going to be initiation. Critical chance of your damaging abilities and attacks increased by 30% on targets above 80% health. So this is not bad if you're playing RMP, whatever, something with a burst spec. For example, that's going to be right now. Well, Demon Hunter. What else? Maybe like even Survival Hunter could do bursts potentially if they have respect, but that's another video. So a lot of classes right now have good burst, so this is potentially something you could use in a scenario that you're playing a comp that's all about the burst, because otherwise if you're playing any like sustain comp, just CC comp, whatever, this is not going to be that useful, because they're going to fluctuate all the time. They're going to be getting healed, but most of the time they're going to stay under 80%. So this talent will not activate most of the time, because potentially they're taking damage. The enemy team is taking damage from your ignite spreads, so they're taking damage there. So that's going to put them below probably 90% all the time. And then if anybody else is doing any kind of damage or AoE, that's going to put them even lower. So this is not going to activate that much, in my opinion. So the safe talent is going to be Mind Quickness. It gives you utility and a little bit more like faster cooldown and everything like that. So Mind Quickness is the way to go on the second tier of the honor talents. Let's go to the third tier, which is pretty interesting. Neither Wind Armor. So reduces the chance of you suffer a critical strike. Reduces the chance you will suffer a critical strike by 15%. This is pretty good versus another Fire Mage. Anything that critically strikes a lot, a rogue, warrior, whatever. Anything that relies on critical strikes, this is going to be very useful. I also recommend this being used versus any kind of melee comp, because the other alternative is going to be Prismatic Load, which we're going to cover. It's only for spells. So this versus any kind of melee comp, or for example you go into a battleground there is a lot of melee, use this talent, Neverwinter. It's going to reduce the damage quite a bit, not too bad. Burning Determination. After being interrupted while casting, you become immune. It cannot be interrupted for 8 seconds. And that's fine, but you're either going to be facing melee that is going to be on you 24/7 in arena and battlegrounds, or you're going to be facing a lot of casters. Same thing, you're going to be the kill target all the time, I guarantee it. So the next talent, Prismatic Cloak, is going to help you survive versus casters. Let's say you sheep the caster during their 20-second burst. They take the full sheep, you sheep him again, another 4 seconds, and then you can do blink for 1.5 seconds immunity to any kind of spell, and blink again for another 1.5 seconds. So essentially you can negate the 20 seconds pretty good of that damage burst they have, damage window they're gonna have as a caster. You can negate that pretty well. You can also dodge some fun stuff. For example, somebody's chaos bolting you while the chaos bolt is traveling. They changed that in Legion. If you manage to dodge the chaos bolt even after he cast it and you blink, you can still dodge the chaos bolt. Before that, as soon as the cast finishes, you've already taken that damage. But they changed that in Legion, so that even if somebody cast it and you casted Blink, you can still dodge it. It's pretty cool. You're gonna avoid a lot of things, and you can piss off a lot of locks and stuff like that, just avoiding the damage that way. And with Shimmer you get double Blink, which is this. Shimmer, you get double Blink, and with your artifact weapon, Blink also heals you for a pretty good percentage. I mean, as a mage you don't usually get any healing anyway, so any healing is welcome. Temporal Shield. This gives you like immunity to damage for 4 seconds. Pretty nice, and you can use this a couple of ways. So that's going to be tier 4 for you of the honor talents. You can use this a couple of ways. For example, if you're, let's say, interrupted during a fire spell that you cast, you can still cast Temporal Shield, because Temporal Shield is counted as an arcane spell versus, for example, Mage Armor, which is counted as a what is it called? It should be not Mage Armor, Ice Barrier, which is a frost spell. I believe it used to be a frost spell. I'm not sure what spell it is now. But if you're interrupted during, for example, one of those, either frost or fire, you can also always cast Temporal Shield and ignore all the damage for 4 seconds. Other than that, I think this talent is more useful for a Frost Mage, because if Ice Barrier is counted as a Frost spell, even though you're interrupted on fire spells, you can still cast Ice Barrier. But don't quote me on that. They might have changed this in Legion, so it counts as a fire spell. Not exactly sure. I've seen some people use both, but if you do use both, you're gonna have Ice Barrier and Temporal Shield. They are both on the same cooldown, so once you cast Ice Barrier, you cannot cast Temporal Shield one after the other. You need to wait the 30 or 45 seconds, that's going to be 25 seconds, until Ice Barrier is back on cooldown to use Temporal Shield or something like that. I'm pretty sure. Let's test it out right now, actually. Yeah, 25 seconds. You do have to wait 25 seconds, because they're both on the same cooldown. So that's, I didn't find it that useful, but sometimes, for example, Ice Barrier is not enough. You want to stop all the bursts. You did everything. You prismatic load, you blinked around, you CC'd, you couldn't stop all the bursts. You want Temporal Shield. If they're doing too much damage, you want to ignore all the damage, not just a little bit of damage with Ice Barrier. But I prefer using just Ice Barrier versus melee. For example, increases the amount of the absorb of the Ice Barrier, but the Ice Barrier can only absorb physical damage. That's pretty good. I mean, if you're facing a melee comp and take neither wind armor and Ice Barrier, you're stopping the crits and you're reducing the damage they do, the physical damage they do, by 60% more. Like, pretty nice combo right here. Is gonna help you survive a lot of melee comps. And Kleptomania, the last talent of tier 4, it just you spell steal everything on a 15-second cooldown. You spell steal all the buffs, everything from the target. You just clean him up. I think that the only case Kleptomania is going to be super useful is against Restoration Druid, so Resto Druid that has a lot of hots. This spell is going to be super useful. Otherwise, in Legion they reduced or removed a lot of the buffs that each class had. So not a lot of classes have any buffs now. So Kleptomania is going to be only useful against classes that have a lot of buffs that they can put, a lot of hots, a lot of buffs they can put on themselves. Otherwise, you can stick with spell steal, just a regular spell steal, and be okay. Just double spell steal and everything is gone. Now we come to the last two tiers, which are super interesting, and they kind of make Fire Mage what it is. I'm testing Tinder, which is the first talent of the 5th tier. Basically, every 8 seconds, if you have not cast Fireball, you get a 50% or 30%, let's see, 30% increased damage Fireball and 50% reduced cast time Fireball. So your Fireball casting time is reduced by 15% and the damage is increased by 30. Every 8 seconds if you have not cast Fireball. Now, why is this good? Well, this combined with Firestarter, which makes your Fireball reduces the cooldown of your combustion, your only big offensive cooldown that you have, reduces by 10 seconds. So every 8 seconds you reduce your combustion timer cooldown by 10 seconds. Plus Kindling, which is gonna give you another like 5 or 6 seconds depending of reduced combustion cooldown. So essentially all the time you're kind of reducing the combustion a lot, and it makes it pretty fast, and you can bring combustion timer to pretty low. For example, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, and you can combust every 20 seconds, 35 seconds, whatever. As many times as you cast Fireball and you have some good procs on a Fire Blast and Pyroblast, crits, which you in turn reduce the combustion timer even more. So you get a pretty good burst damage all the time. And I'm also combining this, so I'm gonna be spec'd like this: Tender, Firestarter, Unstable Magic, which gives me another 50% additional damage on my Fireball, and 25 chance for this Fireball to explode on impact and hit everybody in 8 yard radius. So not only am I reducing my combustion by doing this, I'm also casting a pretty heavy hitting Fireball on the target every 8 seconds, pretty fast. Currently it's 2 seconds. By 50% it's going to be 1 second, even less than a second cast timer on the Fireball. Increased damage by 30%, Unstable Magic 50% damage increase, and reduces my combustion timer. So this is pretty good overall kind of like spec that I think is gonna work in a lot of cases. Combine this with configuration in BGs, where you spread your Fireball spreads configuration to multiple enemies. They start to flare up, do even more fire damage. Unstable Magic, 25% chance to explode, do 50% more damage. And Tinder, which gives me increased damage on the Fireball as well. It's gonna be pretty good spec to do overall. Your single target is gonna be Pyromaniac, Unstable as well. And then, for example, you do your the big combo, so you combust with a heating up. So you have a heating up like this. I hope I get it. Nope. So this is called heating up. You combust, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, Pyroblast, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, and you just do a lot of pyros like that, and you're gonna reduce that timer a lot. And after that, you cast a fast fireball, so that's 8 to 10 seconds of bursting. Fast fireball, already your combustion timer is reduced by a lot. So that's pretty cool. Let's cover the next word of flames. Reduces the cast time of flame strike, increase the damage by 30. I don't use flame strike. I don't know why would I use flame strike. Maybe in PvE. PvP I don't use it that much. I just spread my ignite everywhere and do single target damage, so I can bring healers down, targets down fast. So I don't flame strike that much. You could do it for RBGs if you wanted to. For even, it's gonna boost your AoE a little bit further, but I don't know if it's gonna be that much. And now this is the two debatable for me, at least, not for everybody, but for me: Tinder and Flare Up. Flare Up gives you another charge on Fire Blast, bringing you up to 3 charges of Fire Blast. And the most useful thing is that using Fire Blast on a target that not affected by your ignite will refund the charge back. So that happens often when you're switching targets a lot in BGs, for example. It's pretty cool. For BGs, I see this being a good talent as well. A lot of people use this in arena as well, but I kind of like the Tinder combo that I'm playing right here, because it gives me a mobility, because every other spell is instant, and now I have the only spell I have on casting time is Fireball, that I have to stand and cast. Because Scorch I can move and cast, but Fireball I gotta stand in one place. And if I'm fighting melee, I never want to stand in one place and just cast. So Tinder is gonna be good versus melee comps or range comps that you gotta stay on the move all the time and chase people as well. Overall, I think Tinder is good with 5-starter combo plus stable, kindling, and maybe pyromaniac, and for BG's configuration. Now, flame cannon. I mean, we did flare up. Yep, we did 5-starter. We already talked about it. So let's talk about flame cannon. Flame cannon, if you're standing still, you get a stacking buff. Stacks to 3 times. Each time giving you increased range and damage and health. So after staying still in combat for 2 seconds, you maximum health is increased by 5%, damage done increased by 5%, and spell range increased by 5%. So that stacks up to 3 times, giving you 15% increased damage, health, and spell range. This is pretty good. 5-starter used to be a lot more. I think it used to be 20 seconds or 30 seconds reduction in combustion. They reduced it because you can have infinite combustion that way. Infinite combustion. They reduced it to 10. So flame cannon became a little bit more viable for me, at least, because I don't like to stand still. I always move. Even when I'm practicing my rotation on the dummy, I always move around and practice. I never stand still. Like, I don't like to stand still. I always chase people. I get chased all the time. I don't like to stand still. But flame cannon is another kind of like different style. That's what is interesting about the fire mage, because you can play different styles of mage. You can take flame cannon, for example. You can take flame cannon. You can take flare up. Or Tinder. I think it works both ways, but you can also take Rune of Power, which is going to give you this rune. I'm going to just show you the rune right now. It's going to give you this rune on the ground, so you stand in it. It gives you increased in PvP is 35%. Don't get me wrong. They're on different templates. I explained that in the previous video, but stand in the rune gives you 35% more damage. Flame cannon gives you 15, and you do a lot of damage have increased health and increased range. So you can, in an open map, you can catch people and burst them down extremely fast with that kind of setup. You can just nuke them down to the ground and there is nothing they can do about it. So Rune of Power and combined with Flame Cannon, pretty good. And Greater Pyroblast is the last talent of this tier. 4.3 seconds cast time. If you ever cast this in arena, if you ever have time to cast this in arena, let me know. You're playing against extremely bad team at that moment. You know that the team you're playing against is very bad, because I've not seen, playing in like 2300s around there, I have not seen anybody that's gonna let me cast a Greater Pyroblast for 4.3 seconds in arena. Let's say your mind quickness reduces it by a little bit, and you get, maybe you stack haste, reduces it. It's still gonna be 3.7 second casting time of this massive Pyroblast. It is massive, but you need to cast it. So you need your team to be kiting for you, CCing for you. And it is possible in the very echelons, rank 1s of PvP. It is possible to do it, but in lower tiers, your teammates are just random people you took off trade chat or whatever. They're not gonna be kiting for you and peeling for you and CCing for you in order for you to cast Greater Pyroblast. I don't think so. At least I've never seen that happen before. Although I do wish it did, but never happens. So since we ran a little bit longer than I anticipated, but Mage has so much interaction between the skills and talents that I wanted to cover in detail, so you guys, so I can help you guys see the different things. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Subscribe, like, whatever you gotta do, but hit me up with questions for sure, because although not too complex, like I said, Mage, it does have a little bit of this interesting feel about it, that how talents and skill work with each other and make this beautiful spec that you know as Mage. Truly a wonderful, fun spec to play in Legion if you want to spec into it and check it out. Also, I made a basic talent guide that covers the synergy we talked about. Even now, in greater detail. It's 25 minutes long, and this video is already 28 minutes long. So let me finish here, and next video is gonna be artifact weapon, and then we're gonna go into rotation, talents, and some macros. Once again, this is Cypress. Thank you for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next video.